The tiny trumpet cry echoed across the parched Masai Mara, a sound so heartbreaking that it seemed to silence even the cicadas. 3-month-old Peanut stood alone in the middle of the vast savanna, his wrinkled gray skin already showing signs of dehydration, his small trunk reaching desperately toward the empty horizon where his family had disappeared just hours before. The worst drought in 20 years had forced elephant herds to abandon their traditional migration routes, and in the chaos of fleeing to distant water sources, one little calf had been left behind. But what happened next would challenge everything wildlife experts thought they knew about maternal instinct and family bonds. This baby elephant was about to become the most. Park Ranger Joseph Kimani had been tracking the Malaika elephant herd for 3 days, documenting their increasingly erratic movements as they searched for water. The matriarch, Tembo, had led her family of 12 elephants further north than ever recorded, following ancient instincts toward rumored water sources near the Tanzanian border. During a treacherous river crossing where only mud remained, disaster struck. Wild dogs appeared on the far bank, sending the stressed elephants into chaos. In the confusion of trumpeting calls and desperate scrambling, little Peanut became separated from his mother, Joni. The herd disappeared into the dusty horizon before the tiny calf could catch up. Now, 12 hours later, Peanut wandered alone through unfamiliar territory, calling for his family with increasingly weak trumpet sounds. Every few minutes, he would stop, raise his little trunk high into the air, and release a mournful call that seemed to ask the same question over and over: "Where is everyone?" Joseph spotted the lone calf through his binoculars just as the afternoon heat reached its peak. His heart sank as he observed the obviously distressed baby elephant, completely vulnerable to the predators that ruled this unforgiving landscape. But Joseph also knew that intervention was not always the best solution. Direct human interference could sometimes cause more harm than good. Then Joseph heard the deep rumbling call of lions echoing across the savanna. Through his binoculars, he could see a pride moving through the grass about half a mile from the baby elephant. The timing could not have been worse. But this was no ordinary lion pride, and what happened next would defy every natural law Joseph thought he understood. The Mistu pride was led by a remarkable lioness named Kessie, whose name meant wise in Swahili. At 7 years old, she was in her prime, a magnificent golden predator with scars that told stories of strength and intelligence. But Kessie carried an unusual burden of loss. Just 2 weeks earlier, Kessie had given birth to 4 cubs. One had not survived the difficult birth. Of the 3 remaining, one had succumbed to illness days later, leaving Kessie with only 2 healthy offspring, an adventurous male named Django and a curious female named Asha. The loss had left Kessie with an overwhelming maternal instinct and an emptiness that seemed to consume her. When the afternoon wind carried the scent of the lost elephant calf toward the pride, Kessie's reaction was immediate and unexpected. Instead of predatory focus, something deeper stirred within her. The maternal instincts, heightened by recent loss, suddenly overwhelmed every other impulse. Joseph watched in amazement as Kessie approached the baby elephant. This should have been the end of Peanut's story. Instead, Joseph witnessed something that would challenge scientific understanding of animal behavior and redefine the boundaries of interspecies compassion. Peanut, exhausted and weakened by dehydration, had collapsed in a small clearing. When he heard approaching footsteps, he raised his small head, perhaps hoping to see his mother. Instead, he found himself face to face with a creature that should have been his greatest fear.
Kessie emerged from the tall grass with fluid grace, her golden eyes focused intently on the small gray form. For a moment that seemed to last forever, lioness and elephant calf regarded each other in silence. But instead of the attack that every natural instinct should have triggered, Kessie did something extraordinary. She approached slowly, her body language shifting from predatory alertness to curiosity and concern. When close enough, she extended her massive head and gently sniffed its small form. Peanut, too exhausted to feel appropriate fear, simply watched this golden giant with wide, innocent eyes. In a moment that redefined the possible, Kessie lay down beside the exhausted elephant calf, her warm body providing shelter from the burning sun. She began to groom him with the same gentle licking motion she used for her own cubs, helping to cool his overheated skin while providing the tactile comfort that all baby animals crave. Within minutes, Django and Asha arrived, following their mother's scent trail. Their reaction to finding their mother caring for a baby elephant was immediate and telling. Instead of confusion or aggression, they displayed the same acceptance that young animals show toward new siblings, approaching cautiously but without fear. As the days passed, the impossible family began to bond in ways that defied explanation. Peanut, gaining strength from rest and comfort, began showing more typical baby elephant behaviors. But surrounded by his new lion family, these behaviors took on amusing new dimensions. Dawn broke one morning with Peanut opening his eyes to discover he was surrounded by lions, and somehow his baby elephant brain decided this meant he must be a lion too. The transformation in his behavior was immediate and absolutely hilarious. When Kessie stretched in her typical feline morning routine, arching her back gracefully, Peanut watched with intense concentration. Then, determined not to be left out, he attempted his own version of a cat stretch. He planted his front legs firmly and tried to arch his small back like a cat. But elephant spines simply don't bend that way. The result looked like a gray boulder attempting yoga, with his little trunk swinging wildly as he tried to maintain balance. But the real entertainment began when Peanut decided it was time to learn the most important lion skill of all: hunting. His first lesson involved a small grasshopper. Django demonstrated the proper technique, lowering his body close to the ground and executing a quick pounce that captured the insect cleanly. Peanut attempted to lower his body into a hunting crouch, but baby elephants aren't built for crouching. His attempted hunting crouch looked more like a small gray hill suddenly very interested in the ground. His stalking technique involved taking enormous, exaggerated steps while swinging his trunk from side to side. The grasshopper hopped away long before Peanut was in range. Undaunted, Peanut attempted the pounce anyway. His version was more like a controlled fall forward, resulting in a small earthquake as his body hit the ground where the grasshopper had been several seconds earlier. Communication proved equally challenging. Lions have complex vocal repertoires, including roars, growls, huffs, and purrs. Peanut, observing these sounds, decided he needed to master each vocalization. His roaring practice sessions became daily entertainment heard across the savannah. Kessie's roar was deep, powerful, and majestic. Django and Asha were developing impressive vocal abilities. And then there was Peanut, contributing his own unique interpretation, a tiny squeaking noise from his small trunk, followed by something that sounded like a miniature steam engine trying to start up. Perhaps most endearing was Peanut's complete confidence in his abilities. He approached each roaring attempt with serious determination, apparently convinced his small squeaking sounds were perfectly adequate contributions to the family's vocal repertoire. Weeks passed with magical rhythm. Each day brought new adventures and evidence that love could transcend species boundaries. Peanut continued growing stronger and more confident, his elephant personality emerging within the security of his lion family.
But changes were approaching.
The research team tracking this extraordinary family had been working to locate the Malaika elephant herd. Radio collars and aerial surveillance finally found them nearly 50 miles north, where seasonal rains had created temporary water sources. Dr. Sarah Matthews, the wildlife behaviorist documenting this unprecedented adoption, faced increasingly difficult questions. Could a baby elephant truly thrive long-term without learning essential elephant behaviors from his own species? The Malaika herd was beginning to move back toward their traditional territory, making reunification a real possibility. The morning that would change everything started like any other. Peanut woke up nestled between his lion siblings, his small trunk curled contentedly around Django's paw. But then, distant rumbling drifted across the savannah. The deep, resonant trumpet calls of elephants communicating across vast distances. Peanut's reaction was immediate and profound. His small head shot up, ears spreading wide as he listened to sounds he hadn't heard since that terrible day of separation. Something deep and instinctual stirred within him, touching the very core of what he was beneath all his lion aspirations. As the day progressed, the elephant calls grew closer. Peanut's behavior became restless and conflicted. His usual lion activities were replaced by wandering to the territory's edge, standing and trembling with emotions too complex to process. That evening, elephant silhouettes appeared on the horizon. The Malaika herd, led by ancient matriarch Tembo, moved with purpose. But it was Joni, Peanut's mother, whose reaction told the complete story. When his familiar scent reached her, she broke from the herd, her trunk raised high, releasing a trumpet call filled with joy, relief, and overwhelming love. Peanut's response was equally profound. When he saw his mother approaching, deeper instincts took control. He began moving toward Joni with increasing speed, his lion behaviors falling away as he ran faster than anyone had seen him move since his arrival. The reunion redefined everyone's understanding of family bonds. Joni reached Peanut first, her trunk immediately beginning careful maternal inspection. Peanut responded with purely elephant trumpet calls he hadn't made since his separation. The most remarkable moment came when Peanut turned back toward his lion family, making soft calling sounds that seemed to bridge his two worlds. He was introducing his elephant mother to his lion family, wanting everyone he loved to understand the connections that had sustained him. Kessie's response was extraordinary. Rather than showing territorial behavior, she approached the elephant family with dignity and maternal respect. She lay down in the submissive posture lions use to show peaceful intentions. The interaction between the two mothers was brief, but profound. Joni's gentle trunk touch to Kessie's head carried gratitude that needed no translation. Peanut made the choice himself. Standing between his two families, he wrestled with the most complex decision of his young life. His decision was both heartbreaking and beautiful. He moved slowly between his two families, touching each with his trunk as if memorizing every detail. His final goodbye to Kessie brought tears to every researcher present, wrapping his small trunk around her neck in an embrace that seemed to last forever. His farewells to Django and Asha were equally touching. The gentle head bumps and soft calls they exchanged carried a love that would remain with them forever. When Peanut began walking toward the elephant herd, he did so with confidence and dignity. He was no longer the terrified, lost calf found dying months earlier. The love from his lion family had transformed him into a young elephant who understood his worth and knew he was capable of being loved. The integration with the Malaika herd was smoother than anyone hoped. Joni's joy was shared by the entire family, and Peanut was welcomed with celebration. Within hours, he was surrounded by cousins and aunts eager to help him remember essential elephant skills. Most beautifully, Peanut retained elements of what his lion family taught him. His confidence, playfulness, and ability to form deep connections had all been strengthened. Rather than losing himself in the transition, he carried the best of both worlds in his heart.
Most remarkably, the families maintained contact over the years. During seasonal migrations, brief reunions would occur, with Peanut and his lion siblings greeting each other with the joy of family members temporarily separated but never forgotten. As Peanut grew into a magnificent adult bull elephant, he carried lessons from both families. From his elephant heritage came wisdom, strength, and survival skills. From his lion family came unconditional love, courage to be different, and understanding that family is defined by willingness to care for each other regardless of differences. Their story became more than a wildlife documentary phenomenon. It became a symbol of hope, showing that love, compassion, and acceptance could overcome seemingly insurmountable barriers, and that families could be created through choice and sustained through commitment. Years later, visitors who were very lucky might glimpse a magnificent bull elephant greeting a pride of lions with gentle familiarity, reminding everyone that the most powerful force in the animal kingdom is not tooth or claw, but the endless capacity of the heart to love without limits. Peanut learned the most important lesson. He didn't have to choose between being an elephant and being loved by lions. He could be both, carrying the best of each family within his heart for the rest of his extraordinary life.